Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something that's got me feeling all kinds of nostalgic and fashy. We're talking about a potential revival of that classic college football comedy, Blue Mountain State.
Ah, Blue Mountain
You
State.
know, the one with the mountain goats, those unforgettable characters, and of course enough crazy antics to make even the wildest college party look tame.
Right, right.
What's interesting about Blue Mountain State, though, is that it wasn't just a raunchy comedy. It definitely had its share of over-the-top humor.
Oh, yeah.
But the show also snuck in some of those surprisingly heartfelt moments that really connected with audiences.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. What's fascinating to me about Blue Mountain State is it struck this balance between being a guilty pleasure and something that was actually, like, genuinely entertaining.
Right. Like, you could totally laugh at how ridiculous it all was, but then, bam, they'd hit you with a moment that was genuinely emotional, and you'd be like, whoa, I did not see that coming. And speaking of things we didn't see coming, get this, there are some pretty strong rumors going around about a fourth season in the works.
Yeah, there are. And what's even crazier, where this revival might actually be happening, Amazon.
No way.
Yeah. And the driving force behind it, none other than Alan Ritchson, who played the legendary team captain, Thad Castle.
Okay, that is huge. I mean, Alan Ritchson is basically on fire right now. He's crushing it with Reacher on Amazon. Honestly, it seems like everything he touches turns to gold. But Blue Mountain State, I mean, that's a real blast from the past. What do we actually know about this whole thing?
So straight from the source himself at the Daytona 500 press conference,
Wow.
Richson confirmed that they're working on it at Amazon, and he even said that this new season was perfect and the best season of BMS we've ever had.
Wow.
So he is definitely not holding back on the hype.
Wow. Okay, so that is some serious confidence right there. Almost Thad Castle levels of confidence. I have to admit, though, hearing that from Richardson himself has definitely gotten me interested. So what do you think is behind Amazon's decision to bring back this show that, let's be honest, has been off the air for a really long time?
It seems like there are a few factors at play.
Yep.
First, you have the Reacher effect. I mean, Richson is super popular right now,
Yeah.
and Amazon is smart to capitalize on that. Second, there's this trend with streaming services to bring back shows that already have a bunch of fans. I mean, nostalgia is a powerful thing.
For sure.
And let's not forget that Blue Mountain State already has a solid foundation. It had 3 seasons on Spike, a really successful movie that they funded through a Kickstarter campaign, and then this whole new wave of fans discovered it on streaming services like Netflix.
Right, so it seems like all the pieces are there for a huge comeback. Yeah. And if they can capture even just a little bit of the magic that the original show had, they could have a real smash hit on their hands. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I'm already picturing myself binge-watching this new season.
I get it. I get the excitement, but we can't forget that they are still in the final stages of development.
Right.
They are expected to decide if it's a go or not in the next month or two, so we'll have to wait and see. But here's another juicy little tidbit. Darren Brooks and Chris Romano, who played the other 2 main characters,
Right.
are expected to come back as well.
Okay, now that's what I call a real reunion.
Yeah.
If they can get the entire gang back together, I think fans are going to absolutely lose their minds. This has the potential to be something really, really special. Before we get into what this revival could actually look like, I want to hear from you, the listeners. Have you seen Blue Mountain State? What are some of your favorite characters or moments from the show?
Yes, please share your thoughts in the comments below.
And if you're liking what you're hearing so far in this deep dive, be sure to give us a like and subscribe for even more fascinating deep dives just like this one.
We love hearing from our listeners.
So let's get back to Blue Mountain State. What's really interesting to me about this whole revival is how will they update it to fit in today's world?
Yeah.
I mean, the original series aired over a decade ago, and a lot has changed since then.
A lot has changed, yeah.
Like, will the humor and the themes that worked back in the early 2010s still work with the 2025 audience?
Right. You're right. I mean, the show's portrayal of college, relationships,
Yeah.
and even just how the characters talk to each other, all of that needs to be updated. And then there's that big elephant in the room, the humor. I mean, some of the jokes that were considered edgy back then might not land the same way today.
That's a really good point. Comedy can be a real minefield, especially when you're dealing with a show that's known for pushing boundaries.
Right.
How do you think the writers are going to approach that?
Yeah.
Will they try to make it a bit tamer? Or will they stick to the original, edgier style?
That's a tough one. It's definitely going to be a balancing act. They'll need to find a way to appeal to those old fans who loved that original humor,
Yeah,
but also bring in new viewers who might be watching for the first time.
right. And how do you appeal to everyone?
Right, exactly.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they do, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe that's part of what makes it so interesting, seeing how Blue Mountain State grows up while still staying true to what it was.
Yeah, it's like this time capsule of early 2010s humor getting a 2025 makeover.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, Blue Mountain State really gives us a chance to look at how our views on certain things have changed over time.
It really shows how pop culture can be a mirror to society.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about Blue Mountain State possibly making a huge comeback, maybe even bigger and better than before. But I think it's time we focused on the person behind all this, Alan Ritchson. His career has just been skyrocketing the last few years.
Oh, absolutely. From Thad Castle to Jack Reacher, he's shown that he can do both comedy and action.
And we can't forget his role as Hawk in Titans.
Right.
I mean, he clearly isn't afraid to take on a challenge.
No, he isn't.
And it's clear he's really excited about Blue Mountain State. You could hear it in his voice when he was talking about it at Daytona. And it's not like he's just acting in it. He's an executive producer, so he's calling a lot of the shots.
Yeah, you're right. He's not just showing up and saying his lines.
Right.
He really wants this revival to be a success, and I think that's a good sign for fans.
I think so, too. This is like a dream come true for him, right?
Yeah.
Not only does he get to play his most famous role again, but he gets to be a major part of making it all happen.
Absolutely. It really shows just how much he believes in this project.
It does. And honestly, I think his enthusiasm is contagious.
Yeah.
It's hard not to get excited when you see how much this means to him. He's like a walking advertisement for the show. And I have a feeling his star power is going to pull in a lot of viewers. And speaking of pulling in viewers, we'd love to have you join our deep dive community. Hit that subscribe button and join us as we go even deeper into all sorts of awesome topics.
We're always up for learning, exploring, and having a good time, so stick around for more.
Now, back to Blue Mountain State. What I'm really curious about is what's going to happen in this 4th season.
Okay.
Give me all the juicy details you've got.
Well, it sounds like the new season picks up after that Blue Mountain State movie, Blue Mountain State, The Rise of Thadland.
Oh man, how could I forget? That movie was pure gold.
Yes.
I quote it all the time. They really nailed it. I mean, it was the perfect blend of everything that made the show great. The crazy humor, the insane antics, and then those surprisingly emotional parts that would just sneak up on you.
It really continued the series perfectly, and everyone was definitely left wanting more.
So if the new season picks up after that movie, what kind of wild stuff can we expect from the Mountain Goats this time? They've already done pretty much every college thing you can think of.
Wow.
What's left to explore?
That's the big question.
I know.
We don't know any specifics yet, but it's probably safe to assume that we're going to get the same outrageous humor, crazy parties, and surprisingly touching moments that we loved about the original.
Right. Because Blue Mountain State wasn't just about football and partying.
Right.
It was about things that we can all relate to, like friendship, love, loss, and just figuring out who you are.
Absolutely. Those themes are always relevant, no matter if you're in college or facing the ups and downs of being an adult.
I'm also wondering how they'll balance the football with those crazy off-field antics that really made the show so unique.
Yeah.
I mean, will the Mountain Goats still dominate on the field? Or will they have to overcome some new challenges?
Ooh, that's a good question.
New rivals? Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping they'll keep the football as background and really focus on the characters' stories and relationships, That's what made the show so good.
Right. I mean, let's be real. Nobody was watching Blue Mountain State for its super accurate take on college football.
Right. It was all about the characters and their journeys on and off the field.
Exactly. I'm really curious to see where Thad's character goes.
Yeah.
He's come a long way since that reckless party animal we met in the beginning.
No, for sure. How has being a dad and a successful actor changed him? And what about Alex and Sammy? Are they still chasing their dreams?
Yeah.
Have their goals changed? So many questions.
Right.
It's like a huge puzzle, and we only have a few of the pieces. But that's part of the fun. We get to speculate and imagine until we finally get some answers.
It's like the pregame hype.
Exactly.
You know what? It's time we dive into those fan theories.
Oh, yes.
Are you ready to get into the minds of some hardcore Blue Mountain State fans?
Oh, I'm always down for a good fan theory.
Yeah.
Lay it on me. What have those internet detectives been cooking up? What are some of the craziest theories you've found?
Well, get ready for this because some of these are pretty out there. One that keeps coming up is that Thad might be having a midlife crisis.
Oh, yeah, I could totally see that.
Right.
I mean, he's a successful actor now. He's got a family. Maybe the quiet life just isn't enough for a former football star.
Exactly. Maybe he's missing those glory days on the field, or maybe he's just trying to figure out where he fits in now that he's not playing anymore. Some people even think he might show up back at Blue Mountain State, trying to relive his past.
Oh, man.
Yeah?
Can you imagine Thad trying to hang out with a bunch of college kids today?
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. But speaking of hilarious, we can't forget about Alex Moran, the quarterback who could turn any situation into a party. What kind of theories are there about him?
Well, some people think Alex might be stuck in a state of arrested development.
Ah, interesting.
Maybe he's still jumping from job to job, still living the single life, and just not growing up. It would be classic Alex to be holding on to his college days while everyone else is moving on with their lives.
Yeah, that totally sounds like him. Alex was always a bit of a Peter Pan, wasn't he? And what about Sammy? He was like the heart and soul of the team, always the one with the best intentions. What do fans think is going on with him?
Well, there are a few really heartwarming theories about Sammy. Some think he's finally found true love,
Oh,
while others believe he's out there helping people, maybe even opening a goat sanctuary, which I think is so sweet.
oh, Goat Sanctuary, that is so Sammy.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these characters, even though they were often over the top and ridiculous, could still connect with us on such a deep level. We saw ourselves in their struggles, their victories, and their crazy misadventures.
Yeah, it really shows how the show could mix humor with real emotion. Blue Mountain State might have been known for its wild parties and crazy stuff, but it also had those moments of genuine feeling and growth that made the characters feel like real people.
Right, like when Thad gave that inspiring speech to the team before the big game, or when Alex finally realized that Mary Jo was more than just a fling. Those moments added something special, something you don't always see in comedies.
Exactly, and we can't forget those hilarious scenes that became memes.
Oh, yeah.
Blue Mountain State gave us so many quotable moments,
It did.
and I bet the new season will give us even more.
Oh, I have no doubt. I can't wait to see what kind of shenanigans they come up with.
Yep.
But on a more serious note, I'm curious about how they'll handle some of the more sensitive topics that were in the original series.
Uh-huh.
College culture has changed so much in the last 10 years, and things that were considered funny back then might not be seen the same way today.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Right.
Blue Mountain State definitely pushed the limits with its humor, and some of it might not age well. I think the writers are going to have to be really careful to be funny without being offensive or insensitive.
Yeah, that's a tough line to walk.
It is.
But I trust the writers. They've shown they can handle difficult subjects with a mix of humor and heart, so I'm hopeful that they'll make the new season funny and still relevant for today's audience.
Yeah, I agree. And it'll be interesting to see if they bring in any of the social and cultural trends that are happening now.
Yeah.
Will they talk about things like social media, mental health, or how college sports are changing?
Those are great questions.
I know.
It would be cool if Blue Mountain State could explore those kinds of issues in a way that's both entertaining and makes you think.
Absolutely. Okay, but enough about serious stuff for now. Let's get back to those fan theories. I found one that's super interesting. It says that Mary Jo, Alex's on-again, off-again girlfriend, might be the reason everyone gets back together.
Ooh, that's a good one. I could totally see Mary Jo being the voice of reason, the one who calls everyone out and reminds them what really matters.
Exactly. Maybe she's the one who plans a reunion, or maybe she just gets tired of hearing everyone complain about their grown-up problems and decides to do something about it.
Either way, I'd love to see Mary Jo back in the mix. She was always the one who kept everyone grounded, you know.
Yeah, and she had some of the best lines.
She did.
But there's another theory that's even crazier. Some people think that Coach Daniels might come back. But this time, he's the one who needs help.
Wait, Coach Daniels, the legendary, hard-drinking, football-obsessed coach,
Yeah.
needing help. What could he possibly be in trouble for?
Well, maybe he's hit a rough patch. Or maybe he's finally facing the consequences of all those years of hard living. Some people even think he might be sick.
Wow, okay, that took a dark turn.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it would definitely be an interesting story to see. Imagine the Mountain Goats rallying around their old coach and helping him through a tough time.
It would be really heartwarming, wouldn't it?
It would.
It would remind us that even the toughest people need help sometimes.
I have to say, all these fan theories have gotten me even more excited about this revival.
I know, me too.
It's amazing how much passion and creativity the fans have.
They really do. They really dive deep into the show and come up with some incredible ideas.
Yeah, it really shows you how powerful storytelling can be and how a show like Blue Mountain State can capture our imagination and inspire us to create our own stories.
And speaking of inspiring, we'd love for you to join our community here at The Deep Dive.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying this episode and you want to hear more in-depth discussions on all kinds of cool topics,
Right.
hit that subscribe button and join the party.
We're always diving into new and exciting subjects.
We are.
So there's something for everyone. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about the impact that Blue Mountain State has had on culture.
Okay.
This show, even with all its crazy humor and wild antics, really connected with viewers on a deep level.
It totally did. It became a cult classic, a show that
Yeah.
people still talk about and quote all the time.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? What about Blue Mountain State has resonated with so many people for so long?
I think it's a few things. First, there's the humor. It was just so outrageous, pushing the limits of what you could show on TV at the time.
Yeah.
It felt real and unfiltered, and it was just so funny. And
Well-
it didn't shy away from all the crazy, weird parts of college.
Right. It just embraced how ridiculous being young can be, all the bad decisions, the awkward moments, just the whole crazy experience of trying to figure out life between being a teenager and becoming an adult.
Exactly. It was a celebration of youth, but it also reminded us of those carefree days in college, even if our own experiences weren't as wild as the mountain goats.
Yeah, definitely not as wild.
Right.
But it gave us a taste of a world full of endless parties, crazy pranks, and those intense football rivalries. It was a way to escape from everyday life for a little while.
And the characters.
That was a
They were so memorable, so over the top, and yet somehow we could still relate to them.
We could?
We loved them, we laughed at them, and sometimes we cringed,
Oh, yeah.
but we couldn't look away.
I think that's a big reason why the show is still so popular today.
I think so too.
Blue Mountain State created this world that we all wanted to be a part of, a world where the rules didn't always matter and anything could happen.
It was pure escapism, a place where we could just let loose, laugh at ourselves, and forget about our problems.
And I think that's something we all need, especially these days. We're surrounded by so much negativity and stress that it's nice to have a show like Blue Mountain State to remind us that it's okay to be silly, to let loose, and to just have fun.
It's a reminder that life doesn't always have to be so serious.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's okay to embrace the craziness and the unexpected.
And maybe even learn a thing or two about friendship, loyalty, and chasing your dreams along the way. Okay, before we get too sappy here, I want to talk about something that's really been on my mind as we've been talking about this Blue Mountain State revival.
Okay, what is it?
I keep thinking about the idea of legacy. What will be Blue Mountain State's legacy? How will people remember it, both for the original series and for this new revival?
That's a deep question. You wouldn't normally think about that with a comedy about college football, but I think Blue Mountain State could have a lasting impact.
I think so too. So how will people remember it? What will they be saying about Blue Mountain State 10, 20 years from now?
I think they'll remember it as a show that really captured the feeling of the early 2010s. It was a time when social media was taking off, the economy was a mess, and young people were just trying to find their way in a world that was changing so fast.
It was a weird time, full of uncertainty, but also a lot of excitement. And somehow, Blue Mountain State captured both sides of that perfectly.
Exactly. It was a show that embraced how crazy life can be while still showing the worries and hopes of an entire generation. It celebrated youth culture, but it also kind of poked fun at it at the same time.
And it did it all with this amazing mix of humor and heart. It made us laugh, it made us think, and it reminded us that even when everything is chaotic and crazy, there's still beauty and meaning to be found.
And it really broke new ground with its comedy. It pushed the limits, it questioned the rules, and it wasn't afraid to offend.
Right.
But it always did it with a sense of humor, reminding us to not take ourselves too seriously.
And of course, we can't forget about the characters. Thad, Alex, Sammy, Mary Jo, Coach Daniels. They've all become pop culture icons.
Absolutely.
They're the characters you quote with your friends, the ones you dress up as for Halloween. They're bigger than the show itself and have become part of our collective memory.
They're these larger-than-life personalities who represent everything about being young, rebelling, and just having fun. And I think that's why they've connected with so many people.
They remind us of a time when we were young, carefree, and felt like anything was possible. And even though we've grown up and moved on, there's still a part of us that misses that feeling of freedom and adventure.
Yeah, there is.
And who knows, maybe this new season will add a whole new chapter to the show's legacy. Maybe it'll start new conversations, introduce the show to a whole new generation of viewers, and solidify its place as a true TV classic.
That would be amazing.
It would be. Now, that's a legacy worth celebrating.
Yeah, it is.
We've covered a lot in this part, from the cultural impact of Blue Mountain State to what its legacy might be. And speaking of legacies, we want to build our own lasting legacy here at the Deep Dive.
We're really passionate about creating a community of curious minds who want to explore the world around them.
And we can't do it without you, our awesome listeners.
That's right.
If you're enjoying this episode and want to help us grow our community, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.
It would mean so much to us, and it would help us reach even more people who are hungry for knowledge and entertainment.
Absolutely. Now let's get back to Blue Mountain State and talk about some of the specifics of this potential new season. What kind of storylines could we see?
Well, from what Richson has said, it looks like the new season will pick up after the events of the movie.
Okay.
This means the characters are no longer in college. They're adults dealing with real-world problems.
So we're talking about careers, relationships, families, maybe even midlife crises.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole new game for the Mountain Goats.
It is.
I think that opens up so many possibilities for interesting storylines.
No, yeah.
We could see Thad trying to juggle his acting career with being a family man. Or maybe Alex finally realizes that partying all the time isn't a good long-term plan.
Right.
And what about Sammy?
Yeah.
He was always the most grounded of the group, but even he's going to face challenges as an adult. Maybe he's trying to find a job that he's passionate about, or maybe he's dealing with the ups and downs of a serious relationship.
It'll be really interesting to see how each character has changed since we last saw them. Have they grown up? Have they learned from their mistakes? Or are they still stuck in their old ways?
Yeah, it's like we get a second chance to watch these characters grow and learn.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to see how their friendships have held up over time.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Will they still be as close as they were in college? Or will life have pulled them apart?
It's something a lot of people go through as they get older. Friendships change, priorities change, and sometimes it's hard to stay close to the people you were once so connected to, especially after college. We're not living together anymore, going to the same classes,
Right.
sharing all those experiences.
Life just gets in the way.
It does, and sometimes those friendships just fade away. But sometimes
Yeah.
those bonds are strong enough to survive anything, and that's what I'm hoping to see in this revival. I want to see these characters, despite all their flaws and differences, still there for each other.
Me too. I think it'd be so heartwarming to see them come together and support each other through the challenges of adulthood, just like they did in college.
It would show just how powerful friendship really is, and that even when we change, those connections can still be there for us.
And speaking of connections, we'd love to connect with you, our amazing listeners here in the world of podcasts.
Yeah.
If you're liking this deep dive and want to help us grow our community,
Right.
hit that subscribe button and join us.
We love exploring all kinds of cool topics, from pop culture to science, history, and everything in between. And we think that learning should be fun, engaging, and something that everyone can enjoy.
Absolutely. So if you're curious about the world and you like a good deep dive, you're in the right place.
You are. Now let's circle back to Blue Mountain State and talk about some potential challenges this revival might face.
Okay, let's get down to business.
Yeah.
It's not all going to be smooth sailing, right? There are going to be some hurdles along the way.
Yeah, there are going to be some bumps.
So, like what? What are some of the potential pitfalls they're going to have to navigate?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is going to be meeting the expectations of the fans.
Right.
Blue Mountain State has a huge following, and those fans have been waiting a long time for this.
They have.
They have high hopes for what this new season will bring.
And if it doesn't meet those expectations, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people.
There will be.
It's a lot of pressure for the writers and everyone involved.
It is. It is. And there's always the risk that the revival will feel forced or fake. If it feels like they're just trying to make money off nostalgia without bringing anything new to the show, it could turn off both old and new fans.
It's definitely a tough balance.
It is.
They need to honor what made the original show great while also moving the story and characters forward in a way that feels authentic and relevant.
Exactly. They can't just rehash old jokes and stories. They have to give us a reason to care about these characters again, to invest in their journeys, and to cheer for them as they face the challenges of adulthood.
And they need to do it in a way that stays true to who these characters are. We don't want to see them suddenly turn into these perfect, responsible adults. That wouldn't be Blue Mountain State at all.
Right. What made the show so great was that it embraced immaturity and recklessness.
It did.
It celebrated all the things that we're told we're not supposed to do as adults.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It reminded us that it's okay to be a little messy, a little irresponsible, and to have a lot of fun. And I think that's something that will always resonate with people, no matter how old they are or where they come from.
Yeah, we all need a little bit of escapism in our lives, a chance to let loose and forget about our responsibilities. And Blue Mountain State gives us that escape in a way that very few other shows can.
It's a world where the rules don't apply, anything can happen, and the party never stops.
That's right.
And I, for one, am ready to go back to that world. Are you with me?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to see what the mountain goats have been up to, and I'm excited to see how they handle all the ups and downs of being an adult.
This is going to be one epic reunion. But
Yeah.
before we get too carried away, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The possibility that this revival might not live up to the hype.
Yeah, we do need to be realistic. Bringing back a show that everyone loves is a big risk,
It is.
and there's always the chance that it won't be as good as we hope.
But even if it's not perfect, even if it doesn't quite capture the magic of the original, I think it's still worth trying.
I agree. It shows just how much people still love Blue Mountain State and how connected they are to these characters in this world.
And you never know, it might surprise us. It could be even better than the original.
You never know. And even if it's not, it'll give us a reason to watch the original series again and enjoy all those classic moments.
Which is never a bad thing. Speaking of revisiting classic moments, we want to invite you to check out our huge library of episodes here at The Deep Dive.
We've got episodes on everything from the history of video games to the science of happiness, the mysteries of the universe, and so much more.
So if you're curious about the world and want to learn new things and have fun doing it, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community of learners and explorers.
We love making learning engaging and entertaining, and we believe that there's something here for everyone.
There is. Now let's get back to Blue Mountain State and explore one final aspect that I find really fascinating.
Okay, what's that?
I've been thinking a lot about the timing of this revival.
Okay.
We live in a very different world than we did when Blue Mountain State first aired.
We do. Things have changed a lot in the last 10 years. Social media is even bigger than it was before. People are more sensitive to certain issues, and what's considered appropriate has changed in so many ways.
Exactly. So how will Blue Mountain State fit into this new world? How will it deal with the issues of today without losing its edge, its humor, and its willingness to push boundaries?
That's the big question.
It is. It's going to be a balancing act. The show's creators need to be aware of what's going on in society today while also staying true to what made the original show so great.
It's definitely a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. Blue Mountain State could use its platform to talk about important issues in a way that's both funny and makes people think.
It could start conversations, challenge people's assumptions, and maybe even bring a little bit of humor into a world that often feels too serious.
Absolutely. I think this revival has the potential to be both entertaining and relevant to what's going on today. It all depends on how the creative team decides to approach these sensitive topics.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think they know the challenges,
Mhm.
and I trust that they'll find a way to make it work.
I agree, and I think it's a good sign that Alan Ritchson is so involved in the project.
Yeah, I do.
He's not just an actor, he's a storyteller, and I think he understands how important it is to find that balance.
He's also a smart businessman.
He is.
I doubt he put his name on something he didn't believe in. So I think we can be hopeful that this Blue Mountain State revival will be something really special.
I'm definitely excited to see what they do.
Me too.
And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how both old and new fans react to it.
Yeah, it's a big gamble to bring back a show that's been gone for so long,
It is.
but I think it could be a huge hit. Blue Mountain State has this timeless quality to it, something that appeals to people of all ages.
It's a show about being young, rebelling, and just having fun.
Exactly.
And those are things that everyone can relate to, no matter what year it is.
So true. And I think that's the perfect place to wrap up this part of our conversation.
Okay.
But before we officially move on, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind throughout this whole discussion.
Okay. What's that?
As we've been talking about this Blue Mountain State revival, I've been really struck by how powerful nostalgia can be.
Ah, nostalgia. It's a powerful thing.
It really is.
Yeah.
It can take us back to a simpler time, reconnect us with our younger selves, and even inspire us to be better people.
And Blue Mountain State, with its over-the-top characters, crazy humor, and surprisingly emotional moments, is a perfect example of that.
It really is. It's a show that reminds us that it's okay to be silly, to embrace our inner child, and to not take ourselves too seriously.
And in a world that often feels too serious, too stressful, too grown up, that's a message we could all use.
I couldn't agree more. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Blue Mountain State, let's all take a moment to appreciate the power of nostalgia and the joy that it can bring. And let's all raise a glass or a protein shake if you're feeling like that to the possible return of this amazing show.
Cheers to that, and cheers to all of you for joining us on this crazy ride.
We've had a great time exploring Blue Mountain State with you, and we can't wait to see what the future holds for this iconic show.
But before we go, we have one last favor to ask. If you've enjoyed this deep dive and want to support what we do here,
Yes,
please hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of learners and explorers.
we are passionate about learning about the world around us, and we believe that learning should be a lifelong adventure.
So come along with us as we dive into all sorts of amazing topics, from pop culture to science, history, and everything in between.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep laughing.
And remember, go mountain goats!
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're in the final quarter of our exploration of Blue Mountain State, and the excitement is palpable.
I know, right? It's like we're right there on the sidelines waiting for the final whistle to blow.
And speaking of whistles, we've blown through a ton of information in this deep dive.
We have, haven't we? We've talked about everything from the show's history and its impact on culture to the potential challenges and exciting opportunities of bringing it back.
We've broken down those fan theories, debated how humor has changed over time, and even gotten philosophical about nostalgia.
It's been quite a ride, hasn't it? Full of laughs, insights, and a whole lot of anticipation for what's to come.
It has been. And as we get to the end zone of our conversation, I think it's time to gather around and recap what we've learned about this potential revival.
Okay, Coach, give us the play-by-play.
Blue Mountain State is making a comeback. And it's bringing back all that outrageous humor, those relatable characters, and those surprisingly heartfelt moments that made it such a fan favorite. And with Alan Ritchson leading the charge, it seems like this revival could be a huge win for Amazon.
It really does. They're bringing back a show that people already love, with a star who's at the top of his game right now.
It's a smart move, and I think it's going to be a big hit with anyone looking for a little bit of nostalgia and a way to escape from reality.
Of course, we still have some questions like how they're going to handle the show in today's world.
Right, and how have the characters changed since we last saw them?
But isn't that part of the fun? All the unknowns, the anticipation, the potential for something truly special?
It's like waiting for that opening kickoff, knowing that anything could happen.
Exactly. And while we wait for the new season to drop, we can always go back and enjoy the original series and the movie.
They're like the pregame warm-up, getting us ready for the big game.
And hey, if you're looking for even more deep dives into fascinating topics just like this one, be sure to check out our other episodes.
We have episodes on everything from the history of music to the science of sleep, the mysteries of the human brain, and so much more. We love exploring the world around us and sharing what we learn with you.
We do. So if you're as curious as we are, hit that subscribe button and join our community of learners and explorers. We're all about making learning fun, engaging, and accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. All right, before we officially wrap things up, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Okay, hit me with it. What have you got?
Think about this. What does the return of Blue Mountain State mean for us as viewers?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think it's a chance to get back in touch with a part of ourselves that we might have forgotten about.
Yeah, that carefree, fun-loving side that we often push down as we get older and busier with life.
Exactly. It's a chance to escape all those adult stresses and dive back into a world where the biggest worries are keg stands and goat mascots.
It's a good reminder that it's okay to let loose every now and then, to embrace those silly parts of life, and to not always take ourselves so seriously.
And, you know, it also gives us a chance to look back on how we've changed since we first watched the show.
Right.
How our views have changed, what's important to us now, how we see the world now that we're not in college anymore.
It's like watching it with a fresh perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
And who knows, maybe it'll even give us a little push to be a bit bolder, a bit more adventurous in our own lives.
Like taking a cue from the mountain goats and embracing those unexpected moments.
Well said. I think that's a perfect way to wrap things up.
I agree. So to all you Blue Mountain State fans out there, get ready to relive the glory days.
And if you haven't seen it yet, Get ready for one wild ride. We'll be back next week with another exciting deep dive.
We will. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep laughing.
And remember,
Go mountain goats.